Hello, gamers. Welcome back to another episode of the Cuddlepunk podcast. I am your host, Veronica Vex. With me today, very, very good friend of the show. He's been on the show before. His band, Boundary Waters, just released their new EP, Long Lost, at the end of last month. Andy Brommel from Boundary Waters is here. Andy, how you doing, bud?
Doing great. Very happy to have the chance to talk and yeah, be part of the podcast. I love the podcast. Anyone listening, uh hit up the Patreon, get on there. I've been on there for years. Gotta keep it going. And yeah, always appreciate everything you put out there, Veronica.
I really appreciate that. I'm pretty sure the last time that we talked, I don't think it was even a podcast yet. In fact, I think I was still in the first apartment that I started doing the interviews out of, like early 2023.
Yeah, feels like a million years ago.
Speaking of a million years ago, 5 years ago, you guys released your album Atalanta.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that? One of my favorite records to come out of the scene this decade thus far. I want to know how you are feeling about the release. How do you feel about that record? You just put out a new EP.
Yeah.
Obviously, is going to get you thinking about the previous record. How are you feeling about Atalanta at this point in time?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, it's Look, I think you have to be kind to your each thing that you create and put out in the world and just kind of recognize it as a snapshot of where you were in that moment and what you were capable of at that time in your creative life. So when I look back on that record, um, I love it. I feel proud of it. I love what it did for us as a band, bringing us together. It it moved us forward creatively in terms of our production approach, in terms of our songwriting, and it was the first batch of songs that we could really share with the world as a band. Um, like I came out of it with a clear sense of where I wanted to go next writing wise. I wanted to write shorter songs. I wanted to expand the palette of the band, bring in keyboards and synths and strings and more, just build out the arrangements while shrinking down the songs, which is that was like the puzzle that we carried into the EP. But yeah, I will always have such affection for those songs, and it it's not for me to say if it's good or not or anything like that. That's none of my business, but it was true to the moment. It absolutely captured a really enormously important time in my life, and it's just the document of us coming together as a band. So I'll always love it. And and I will always be trying to get rid of the remaining vinyl copies that are that I have like several hundred of.
Bro,
And
send me one. I'll Next time we meet up, just
okay.
have one for me. I got
Oh
you.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I
I,
know
I give them out like candy these days.
I get you. I know there was a bit that you had where every time you were talking about this leading up to the release of Long Lost, where it seems like, at least to you, every time that you guys are planning on releasing something, the earth kind of goes into catastrophe.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we we finished mixing Atalanta on it was March 13th of 2020, and then all the like Chicago lockdowns started that following Monday. So, we had recorded it through that fall, and right when like the day we finished it, the world shut down. I remember being in the studio mixing it and finding out, oh, the NBA has canceled the rest of its season. Like, oh, all my meetings that were supposed to be happening next week are switching to virtual or so yeah, and then with this one, I don't even know which facet of our like this kaleidoscopic like multi-crisis we're in that you want to point to and say, but we're only going to release music in bad times, it seems like. So that's a promise.
Looks like we're going to be getting a lot of great Boundary Waters music coming up soon. Love
Yeah,
You have been teasing the Long Lost EP for a while, I feel like. I
yeah.
remember like the recording process. First, I want to know how long the recording process took, but also I remember seeing an Instagram story of yours where you had like it was somewhere between 30 and 50 guitar tracks just for one song, like just for one part of one song. Talk about like the actual recording aspects of the
Yeah.
new EP because it seems like you went like absolute galaxy brain mode for this one.
Yeah, yeah. That is true. So we recorded it ourselves. This is like become our our MO at this point is we do all the tracking, engineering, editing, all the recording stages ourselves. I kind of manage that. We do that in our practice space. And I mean, part of the long delay between the Atalanta and Long Lost was like we switched recordings, we switched practice spaces, and I took that opportunity to like fully build out. Like we spent like six months or more just building out the new practice space to be functionally a studio. We were building all this new acoustic treatment. We were gearing up and getting new preamps and mics and all this stuff.
I remember
Uh,
seeing the like process of that also on
yeah.
Instagram, the process of the recording studio coming to be.
And that's just like we didn't have to do that, but we did it because we like the labor that we put into these things is not because anyone needs that from us. It's just because we like the process. So I thought it was fun to like conceive and build out the whole space as a functionally a studio. Um, but that like pushed the whole thing back 6 months further. But yeah, we record everything ourselves, and then we bring in Brock Mende from Friends of Friends Recording to mix and master. I just he's a genius. He's an artist and a technician. Like he knows all the technical stuff, but he listens generously and he listens with an artist's ear. And I just know that like I feel really comfortable managing the recording, the editing, that stuff. And I love being able to do that without time pressure and not being on the clock at a studio, but I'm just not gonna get as good at mixing. I'm not gonna put in the 10,000 hours to get as good at mixing as I would want to be to manage that ourselves. So that's been a nice balancing act or kind of best of both worlds. And yeah, like the songs are just all with these songs, like I said, I wanted to like shrink them down structurally, but explore. I feel like through Atalanta, I learned what everyone's voice in the band could be, and I wanted to like feature all of it everywhere at the same time. And so then all the songs have like layers and layers and layers of guitars and hooks and synths and all this stuff. And they're a little, I would say, a little overstuffed, but that's just again, it's the snapshot of the band where we are right now. The next songs will probably try to open up a little bit more and like practice some restraint. There's always a next challenge.
I really love the synths on the new EP. I feel synths are coming back in a very big way in our little like Midwest emo type scene. I
Yeah.
remember seeing Topiary Creatures at Coachella last month
Yeah.
and seeing their like synth work or like Pretty Bitter, their new record is coming out at the end of this month. They've got a bunch of synth stuff too. What do you what made you personally want to bring the all of the synths
Yeah.
into this new record?
Um, there was some serendipity to it. So John Monteverdi is our keyboard and synth player, and he's actually the oldest, like longest running member of Boundary Waters. He when I it used to be my solo project back like literally 15 years ago, and I would just bounce files with him, and there's like a 2013 Boundary Waters EP that he played drums on. And then for Atalanta, he played bass on that. And now for this one, and he also plays guitar and he also sings and he knows how to arrange strings and but his true original or kind of like main instrument is keyboards and synths. So he's just this like Swiss Army knife who has played essentially every role in the band over the years, but now with him moving to keys and synths, it's like this is kind of where he has the most to offer. And he's just so musically intelligent. I bring him a framework of a song and he'll find exactly the right sound and texture and voice and part to fit in, to work around the vocal, to play off of what other folks are doing. And he's the opposite of a showboat. He needs no attention. He doesn't like he's not trying to like get his moment, but everything he puts in there just fits perfectly and makes musical sense. So just kind of like moving him over to keys and synths felt like kind of unlocking the most of his superpowers.
I want to talk about so last a couple years ago, you and I were both at the premiere for Dan Stewart from Damager, his movie Local Band.
Yeah.
And something that stuck out about that movie to me, which I don't know if it's on streaming yet, but when it comes to streaming, everybody should go watch it. Local Band, the movie. It's a great little piece. Um, the thing that I noticed about the movie is even just it was 2023 when the movie came out. It was filmed in 2022.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see how all of the local bands that were in the movie, because they featured a lot of like Chicago scene bands in the movie,
Mm.
how Pink Squeeze was the only one who hadn't had like a massive lineup change. I feel like we're kind of in a kind of different era for the Chicago scene at this point, where
Yeah.
there were like certain bands that came out of like post lockdown seeing like your Cut Your Losses, your Pink Squeeze, your
Yeah.
Calico Locos, and some of those bands have broken up.
Hmm.
Pink Squeeze and Calico Loco are like, and Arcadia Gray are making huge moves right now.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you guys played Bummer Summer last year, which I feel like is such a great showcase for so much of what not just Chicago but the Midwest has to
Yeah.
see. It's been very cool to see like bands come and go, bands like get bigger and smaller and everything. Boundary Waters is one of those bands in Chicago. And I say this as 100% a compliment. They feel like a local band that exists to take care of the other local bands and to
Yes.
make sure that every like era of the scene is somewhat taken care of. I want to hear your thoughts on that of like kind of being
Uh,
elder statesman of the Chicago scene at this point.
yeah, I love that. And you mentioned Bummer Summer, so shout out 10 Month Summer.
Shout out Tenmo, baby.
Nish puts, that level of like scene stewardship and caretaking and lifting everyone up. I mean, that's
Dude, I saw Tenmo last week when they were at the last Bottom Bunk show. Shout
yeah,
out Same Old Story. Same Old Bottom Bunk is now Same Old Story. Great
yeah,
little easy core thing coming up there. I when I was at Coachella, just the pure amount of 10-month summer shirts that I saw at that festival.
yeah.
Like Tenmo and SPLITJAW shirts just out the fucking wazoo. Like I was having to tell them that because I don't think they understand like how important they are to like emo as a whole right now.
I think they're up next. Like, and by virtue of putting in the work and putting in like both musically and just all the band admin and promoting and booking shows and putting yourselves out there and touring and the way they lift up community. So, I mean, I think both those bands have huge next steps ahead of them. And yeah, so I mean so to your to your comment, like I it is striking how the like music scenes are such they're such transient kind of almost fragile things, and bands are the same way. They're just they're always they come together, they fall apart, they come together, they fall apart, and like you blink and there's a whole new set of bands around you, and half the bands you loved have broken up. So you got to go to the shows, you got to see these folks while you can. um and there was a real, I felt that turnover or that like generational shift from the bands that emerged in that like unreal intensity of that post-lockdown year or two, where it just seemed like everyone was out at shows 5 nights a week. And certainly you were in the middle of that. And yeah, that moment now feels like I don't know, I wouldn't put an end date on it, but it feels like where there's a new set of bands and there's continuity, but there's so many new faces. And that's just what it is. So that's why I appreciate bands like 10 Month Summer that do the work to lift people up and try to give stages to others. You mentioned Bottom Bunk. We put together a show. Uh, Whenever I put together a show for Boundary Waters, I'm trying to find like what's the lineup of bands who maybe haven't played on that level of stage yet, or just that see something in that I want to celebrate. And I'm always looking to like have a diverse bill that reflects the voices of our scene. And um so yeah, like I think of that as our role. Like we're not aspiring to be a national touring band. Um but I love being part of this. It feels like an enormous privilege to get to be a part of this. I mean, the other thing is like I'm 43 years old. Like I'm not gonna be like touring in a van and taking, between like like there it's hard for us to think about that kind of next step for the band, touring, taking all the time off of work. And also there's like I'm this age, I have no kids, and this like paternalistic energy has to go somewhere. So it's like I can be the like the Mr. Rogers of the scene,
You
as I
guys
joke
strike
about.
me as the kind of band that would be like, this was before I arrived in Chicago because I got here in 2017. I know Foo Fighters played a Wrigley Field show and they brought Screeching Weasel to open for them, like legendary Chicago punk band Screeching
Yeah.
Weasel. I feel like that's going to be kind of your thing when you're like 50. I can see like some of these bands that
Yeah.
have like, if they're good, and I will make sure that they're good,
Yeah.
I'll make sure that these bands pay it forward. I feel like you're gonna be like the kind of like kind of like a piebald thing where like if a band is like playing like a local like big venue,
Hmm.
like I could see you guys 100% being like that kind of band that gets brought out just so like all of the old friends who are going to see this band play this huge venue, or I could see you guys being the band that gets like brought out as those like in
Yeah.
like just like seeing like legend type status.
That would mean, I mean, that kind of vision means more to me and I think to us than like we're not I don't think any of us in our heads is telling ourselves, okay, now we built from this and then we leave the scene behind and we start touring and then we get to a point where we can quit our day jobs and make music our career. I don't think that's what it's like. Every year I just kind of think about like, well, what are the experiences I want to have with my bandmates and with this community and with this band this year, and can I make those happen?
You
So
guys
putting
just had like
together
a
the
retreat
EP,
or something like that, like where you went, where like you and the rest of the band like went
yeah.
out to like just go camping for a little bit. I think that stuff's really, really sick.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I mean, this year, yeah, like doing a writing retreat, having an EP release show that we like get all the friends and family together for. I had like a little EP release private like listening party at my home just because like I was like, oh, one of the experiences I want to have this year is like all these people who I know from shows and who I know from shouting in each other's ears at a loud venue. Like I want to actually have them over to my home, provide food, let them hear the EP first. Like that felt like. And after that night, I was kind of like, I don't care whatever else happens with the EP is great, but like I had the moment I wanted to with this because I got to connect with people around it. So yeah, like it makes you less crazy about your Spotify numbers. You have to like define success on terms that are like more human and that you actually have more agency in versus like I hope the algorithm picks us up and like takes us to some next level where that'll be cool for 2 days and then I'll start dreaming about the next level of numbers, you know? It's like I know that satisfaction doesn't even really last.
That initial post lockdown scene was so interesting because you see like obviously everybody had been cooped up in their apartments for a year, no shows.
Yeah.
I was living in the apartment building right next to the Vic for that entire lockdown period. I was living next to the Vic with no shows happening. It was torture.
Ugh.
And I remember the first one of the first like scene shows that I saw post lockdown was one was a show that you guys did with Pink Squeeze and Cut Your Losses
Cut your
when they had
losses.
both released EPs. Rest in
Yeah.
peace, Cut Your Losses, man. That's a stinger for sure. Seeing them unfortunately like have to go because they're one of the bands that like they I think were the first interview that I ever did to like past 100 views.
Mm,
I think that
they're
like
incredible.
that yeah, that just post lockdown scene, there was a real feeling of everybody needs to like hit the ground running and get out there and make sure that like if there was any point if there was any point where everybody was going to continue to like just release shit just to release it and to see what would happen there, that was really the moment where it happened. And it does feel, I don't want to say that it feels like that passion isn't there because there's obviously still passion there. There are still like bands doing insane shit right now, and
Yeah.
like there are obviously the venues, there aren't like some of the venues have closed and
Yeah.
some of the DIY spaces have closed, but there is still that there is still that internal passion to make sure that these scenes are available for people like Boundary Waters, obviously, people like Molly Compton, people like
Mhm.
Anita
Yeah.
Velveeta out in Minnesota. There are people who are trying to make sure that whether or not they themselves get super big, but there are people who came out of, I think that was the big thing that come out of that scene was kind of realizing who the new like parental figures of Chicago's
Yeah.
like punk scene are going to end up being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I felt at the time, and maybe this is just having been around scenes since Bill Clinton was president. I had some consciousness at that moment that was like, there's a special intensity to this. This is pent up energy from lockdown. Like this is everything a scene should be plus 50 plus an extra 50%. Like there was a special quality to that moment that I tried to like soak in while it was happening because I was like, I don't, everyone's gonna burn out. Like
Yeah,
everyone's at shows 5 nights a week. Like, what are we, and yeah, now I feel like we're at more of like a regular, a normal, healthy simmer. And there's always new bands coming in and out. But yeah, that was a really special moment. And I think when I think about band life, I will often be picturing that moment.
there's a
And
lot.
since you mentioned Cut Your Losses, I just got to shout them out. They were the first bill that I put together ourselves in Chicago. They were the first band I invited onto it. They were under an old name and they had released like one demo on Bandcamp or something. But I heard it and I remember feeling like there was a
Skyline
level,
Cinema.
yeah, real heads know. I remember just recognizing a quality of songwriting there that was so mature and interesting and just beyond their level or their years. And yeah, the Reflections of Ghosts, their album is, I listen to that. I have like a little, that's one of those albums where like every year I have a run with it where I just listen to it nonstop for a week. And it has staying power because of the level of craft that they put into it. And yeah, they're to this day some of our closest friends in the scene. And they're too talented to be done. I mean, it's up to them what form it takes and what, they will decide like when and how they want to get back out there. I know that they're not done making music. They're too talented and they have too much to offer.
Issa and Alex are so interesting. I remember like doing my first interview with them and hearing that like neither of them know really chord structure or anything like that. Like they couldn't tell you what the names of
Mm,
the chords were, but the way that those two just work off of each other where they can make those kinds of songs without knowing any of the like theory shit, that is something that does not come along very often. That is something that needs to be a thing that still exists later on.
yeah, yeah. They have very powerful voices in the broader sense, like musical voices, like writing voices, songwriting voices. And yeah, I'll be here for everything they ever do.
Who are some people that you're like really focused on right now? Like for me, it's Lavender Point. I feel like they are
Oh,
like Lav Point and obviously
yeah.
Tenmo, but like Lav Point, I just saw again, I saw them at book club for that final bottom bunk show. Um, they actually they caused a power surge at that show. Like they hit the pedal right when they were about to start, and lights went out for like 10 minutes. It was insane. Like I do feel like that like sapphic softball like emo thing. Like I do feel like that has a lot of staying power in this scene. I do think that they're like one of the next ones up.
Yes. I felt that we played a show at a defunct DIY spot with them a year or so ago, and I remember listening to them before the show and just feeling like I feel I'm like I'm being targeted. Like like there are things on in their songs that feel to me like the Get Up Kids, like like late 90s, early 2000s era Get Up Kids, which is I'm like I'm being targeted. Like and then they do that in their own way. They have other
I'm
influences. There are
seeing
other sounds
Get Up
there.
Kids for the first time. I'm going with Blind Adam in the Federal League. I'm doing merch for them at Fest this year. I get to see them
Ah,
do all of Something to Write Home About uh as my first Get Up Kid show. I'm being fucking targeted too.
yeah. Oh, that's a Uh, yeah, so like Lav Point comes to mind immediately. I'm so excited to hear what they do next. And I have a t-shirt of theirs that I wear like every time it's clean. Lav Point, I mean like SPLITJAW, I'm really excited about. SPLITJAW and Tenmo we already talked about, but like I just think the combination of song craft and like look, I love it. I love a down and dirty three-piece punk band, you know, simple songs, but when I really get excited about a band is when I notice a level of craft or detail or like sweating the details that tells me they're reaching for something higher. So that's why Cut Your Losses always meant so much to me. And with Tenmo and SPLITJAW, like I think you also got the leak of the new
Yeah,
SPLITJAW
yeah,
EP. I heard that, I was like the overwhelming feeling I had was like this is the next level. Like
yeah.
they're taking their voice to a next level of craft. There's more happening in those four songs than in many other bands like 10 songs.
I
And
f- I feel like with Tenmo and Splitjaw, there's also like, and I say this as a compliment, there's kind of a boy band element to them where each
yeah,
member has their own like specific identity, and
yeah,
you know who you're talking to, you know whose voice is coming through on each part of the song. Like when I
yeah,
got the leak for the second Splitjaw EP, what I tweeted was, "What happens when you mix a diva, a cryptid, a warrior, an elitist, and an old
yeah,
man? You get the best fucking band in hardcore." And you could hear all of
yeah,
those things coming through on Splitjaw. If I there is like there's nothing I won't do for Mod and Dean specifically
yeah.
and for Scumdrop. Like those are like some of my best friends in the scene. Mod has helped me. Mod did the fucking theme song for this
That's
show. I
right.
mention it every episode. Those five people, I truly like. Splitjaw is something else. They are,
Yeah,
if there is any band that I would put money on as to like playing headlining shows at like Salt Shed or
yeah.
Metro within the next 5 years, it is Splitjaw. They are like not even just in like I'm friends with a lot of like or like mutuals with a lot of people on like big trans Twitter.
Yeah.
There is no bigger band on trans Twitter right now that doesn't have a full album out than Splitjaw.
Yeah, they're building. It's incredible. And to you and I think you nailed it. Like it's the lineup of that band where they all play like motherfuckers, but they all have distinct musical voices, and you get the sense that they don't all just listen to the same music. They're not trapped. Like one of my biggest frustrations with modern heavy music, whether it's metal or hardcore or punk, is that it's all gotten filtered down to these like sub genre prison cells where you're just playing in one style at one tempo and you're not listening to anything else, and it just becomes suffocating. It becomes like a coffee order where it's like you have this very specialized fix that you're going for. And what I
I
love about SPLITJAW is that that is an omnivorous band.
Yeah.
Like they are gobbling up all kinds of different like influences, and they each bring something different to the table.
Just the different bands that I've seen with Mod and Dean. Like, I've seen like everyone from Better Lovers and Dillinger Escape Plan to
Yeah.
Carly Rae Jepsen and Kendrick with Mod and Dean. It has been just it is like they take in everything,
Yeah.
every single bit. Mod's always putting me on to like pop punk and emo bands like Gob that I would have heard
Yeah.
of like in a million years. Their influences are like this new EP. There's a lot of like Slayer to it and a lot of like
Yeah.
thrash to
Yeah.
it. I know Dean after Back to the Beginning, the Black Sabbath Ozzy Osbourne farewell show. I know Dean's been writing a lot of heavy shit in just standard tuning just
Yeah.
to prove to these fucking core kids that you can do heavy shit in
Yeah.
standard tuning. Just like normal, regular, off the but like first guitar lesson, fucking standard tuning.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is there is a there is a distinct need to prove something with that band, which
Yeah.
I cannot admire more.
Yeah, they got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and I love it.
I
Like they're
love it, dude.
and like they're coming for everyone. I love it. Yeah, they're amazing. But yeah, those two bands I think of, and I love that sense of like, I mean, we have our own version of this in Boundary Waters, where the five of us, I don't think any of us listen to the same music. Like Clint is into like 90s hard rock, and then he'll know he'll you name a jazz record and he can tell you the lineup of who played on it. Duncan is into like experimental, indie and noise rock and all this and like psychedelic metal. Tim listens to like the most insane, demented metal and like, but also will write folky stuff that is haunting. And John just has this like universal knowledge of all music. And then I'm on my emo bullshit. So it's just like none of us, if we made a top 10 albums, there would be very little overlap between the five of us, but then you feel like you have more like influences to draw from, or people are just going to come up with shit that I would never come up with. And it doesn't feel like such a hall of mirrors of being trapped inside just the sounds of one genre.
We were talking about Get Up Kids and how you can hear the influence of them in um Lavender Point. Another band that you can really hear the influences of Get Up Kids, at least on that first record, is the Hotelier. I see you wearing the hoodie. We're going to talk about the Hotelier in a little bit. We
Yep.
saw them at Talia Hall with Foxing and Emperor X a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
That first record is so Get Up Kids influenced, but I really want to talk about Talia Hall specifically because that might be my favorite venue in all of Chicago. Just the birth of different shows that I've seen there. I've seen like hardcore wrestling shows there. I saw
Yeah.
GCW Game Changer Wrestling there where Matthew Justice like jumped off the balcony onto Jimmy Broski through a table. I saw earlier this year when my friend Sherry first moved to Chicago. Was like first thing moving to Chicago. She was staying with me for a little bit. I took her to see Yasuaki Shimizu, this Japanese jazz artist there, where it's him and a pianist, and he's like on his like an electric sax and an
Mm,
acoustic and a regular sax, and he's just it's those three instruments and a loop pedal, and he's just creating some of the most insane sonic shit I've ever heard
yeah.
in my life. Just there is something about Talia Hall where it feels like going to church almost.
Yeah. That venue has some magic to it, and I don't get down there that often, but every show I see there feels special, and their programming vision seems to be, as you say, it's like they're not on any circuit. They just have this programming vision that's just like extremely good shit. We're gonna get all of that in one place, and it could be like, yeah, that Hotelier and Foxing show was a peak experience. I saw Deaf Heaven there and like had a near religious experience. I saw my partner Katie, one of her favorite bands is Widow's Peak, and they were touring with Turnover, and so we saw them there, and that was just a, especially for her, like a peak life experience. And yeah, shows there feel special.
The
And I don't
first
I don't know what it is, but
the
it's
first artist I ever saw there was in 2018 at the Red Bull Festival. I saw Cupcake perform there. I don't know if you're familiar with her. Sh-
not really, but that don't chalk that up to anything. I just only listen to like 10 albums a year.
She
So yeah.
makes like super horny hip hop, like unbelievable, like some of the most like hilariously disgusting shit I've ever heard in my life.
Okay.
But
I
there's
actually
like,
this does sound familiar because
yeah,
I think one of my bandmates told put me onto this at some point.
she's incredible. She's incredible. Like that show, it Talia Hall is one of those venues that like I would say book club falls into that, or like the Metro, or a couple other venues where the venue itself elevates the performance that you're going to see.
Yeah, and you can really imagine like the stages that have a specificity to them. Like to me, like Metro to me is that's church, but that's because like I think it even comes down to the shape of the room and the stage and the like you think about Metro, it's wide and the room is very wide and very shallow. So you can be
Same
close
with
to
the
the band from
stage.
anywhere and like but it really works with bands that have a widescreen cinematic sound. So like seeing Russian Circles there or seeing, any band with a big wide sound is just crushes at Metro. And then I've been to shows there that I remember being having a really disappointing show there with this like I won't name them, but it was like a very nice indie band that like very tasteful. The energy level is like low to medium. The drummer is like barely hitting the snare, and it would sound great in a smaller room or a narrower room or a coffee shop, but in this big widescreen thing, it just felt tiny and like lost. So it's like the band needs to fit the room in some way. And Metro has that, Talia Hall has that. You need to fill that enormous vertical space with something like, and then a book club is just a, I don't know, especially their new space in the old Elbow Room, which I always hated the Elbow Room, but now like they've given that space an identity and even the way they've shaped the stage to come forward into the room, now it wants a certain type of performer who has a charismatic front person and can use that stage and engage the audience. Like I would be super awkward on that stage because I don't have that like front person skill set, but like I like that they've committed to an identity for the space in a way.
Metro kind of ruined a band for me a little bit in a good way. Was at the 2021 post Riot Fest Metallica show at the Metro. I saw
Ah,
Metallica in a 1,000 cap room, and then I saw them at Lollapalooza the next year, and I'm like, I can never see this band
yeah.
again. I have seen peak Metallica.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the right band
I
for
paid
that.
$20 for that set. It was $19.83 because that was the last year that they had played the Metro.
Wow. Oh, I'm jealous.
It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. Another one of the best shows that I've ever seen was that 10-year anniversary Home Like No Place There Is Hotelier show. When we come back, we, Andy and I, are going to be ranking every song on Home Like No Place There Is, the seminal sophomore record from Massachusetts' very own The Hotelier. We will be right back with more of the Cuddlepunk podcast. Welcome back to the Cuddlepunk podcast. We are here with Andy Brommel from their new EP, Long Lost, just came out last month. You should all listen to it. One of our favorite concert memories was getting to see the Hotelier at Talia Hall a couple years ago perform this album in full. This is the iconic, the everything album, Home Like No Place Is There by the Hotelier. We are ranking every song from worst to best. Andy, are you ready for this? First off, what is your connection with this particular album?
I don't remember when I stumbled across it. It wasn't in 2014. I was kind of checked out from a lot of new music in that point in my life. So I kind of missed this moment when it first happened, but I found it a few years later and, just had an immediate connection with it. I will say, like, I found this exercise very difficult just because I just think of this as an album. Like, I think of it as an album, and I think of it as having a number of just unbelievable moments. But I don't actually think of it like I don't think of the songs that much. I think of the album as a whole and its overall flow, and then these moments that the album builds around that are just like just heart-stopping. So actually going through and trying to, think about the songs at a song by song level was really it was novel and difficult. But yeah, no,
I
this album is just like it's everything, and I will honestly, like, it's not a recreational listen for me. Like
no.
I I don't listen. I listen to it when I feel something in my heart needs to move or change or be like transformed. Like it has that level of effect on me, even no matter how many times. And you know, it's not like a walking around album for me. I don't want to be just like crying in the 7-Eleven because I just, this came up on shuffle, you know?
This album for me, I did not get into the Hotelier on this album. This album came out my freshman year of high school. Um, I was got really into Hotelier during my junior and senior year of high school when Goodness came
Yeah.
out. That album to me, I think that album has better songs,
Yeah.
but I think that this album works better as a whole. I understand why this is the Hotelier album that everybody goes back to and thinks of. I remember talking with Maud like a year before that show,
Mhm.
thinking like Hotelier is never going to come back. They will never ever
Yeah.
perform again. And just to be able to have seen this album in full and feel what people at Fest 13 were feeling when they played this album in
Uh,
full, that has been just it's been wonderful to see how much this album has continued to resonate with people. I
yeah,
have
I really thought I would never get to see them because
yeah,
it's part of the mythology of the band is that they just like recorded these just a small handful of albums and then Kristen's like, I can't write anything better than Goodness. We're done. I'm gonna go play poker and have like 10 million side projects or gigs and like they're just, they're like the anti-Weezer, where it's like I just, like if Weezer had just like stopped after two albums, they would be this legend, they'd be like instead they went on and recorded 15 other like extremely mixed bags, but
I had
like
seen them one previous time before that show at Talia Hall a couple years ago. I saw them with War on Women opening for Frank Turner back home in Boston.
wow.
That show was incredible. That was just a sight to behold.
That's
We're
right. You got the Massachusetts connection. So this is
Yeah,
like, yeah, this is
baby.
this is homegrown talent
This
for you.
is real. Like Massachusetts does not have a great deal of bands that you can really like sink your teeth into like that. Like we've got Killswitch, we've got Piebald, we've
Yeah.
got Converge, and all shit like that. But when it comes to emo, I don't know. There's not a huge amount of stuff that really comes from there. So this has always been a very hometown hero type of band for me.
Yeah.
We're gonna get started. I know that you and I have different opinions on what the worst and best song on this album is. I will not be allowing you, Andy, to put the song that you think is the worst at number 9. So I will not make it first, even though it is first in my list. But we're gonna start with what I think least the least song, good song on the album. You can say what yours
Mhm.
is, but we can put that one in the middle for sure.
Okay.
But I won't have it be last. My personal least favorite song on Home Like No Place Is There is the longest track on the album. It is Among the Wildflowers.
Yeah, I had that one toward the bottom. I think in a way, I think it has a role in the flow of the album. It's long, it has two or three really peak moments in it, and the found sound bit at the end where the like really it really divides side A from side B in a way, but I do feel like it doesn't quite like what's great about this band is how they concentrate intensity, and that song doesn't quite do that in the way that the others do. uh so yeah, it's very hard to put any song on this album low, but somebody's got to be there, and I had that one like around 8.
I think that Among the Wildflowers at number 9 is pretty good. For number 8, I put Dendron, the final song on the record. I love that song.
We were fighting already. Like, come on. Like that I had that one at 3.
That's
That's like
fair. That's
that's
fair.
to me this album is like it's like I think it's like a suspension bridge where it's like the intro and then the intro is an unbelievable high point to me. Then a couple
Intro is very high on my list.
really good songs. Your Deep Rest is a peak moment of all recorded music. And then
Yes.
there's like some more songs, and I have like done ones that I feel have special fondness for. But to me, like, uh, yeah, Dendron that's a peak song on this album for me.
That's
Just
fair.
the when his voice goes up an octave on like, man, I'm sorry every day, and then the way the band builds up to that last line, tell me again that it's all in my head. Like I can't hear that without choking up. It's just too,
That's totally fair. They do the Wonder Years thing where they like bring in the beginning of the album into
yeah.
that final song. I love that shit whenever something like that happens. I am comfortable putting that a little bit higher. What song would you put at number 8 other than Among the Wildflowers, because we've already got it there?
This now we're gonna fight again. I had Housebroken at the bottom. I
Yeah,
know
yeah, I
that
know.
I
I
know that
know.
song is so special to you,
It's
but
really special to me, but this is your list. You're the guest here, so I'm
okay.
fine with putting Housebroken at number 8 if you will allow me to rant about how much I love
Yeah, no,
Housebroken.
I want it. This is like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like, dunk on that song. I think it's a great song. I want to hear what that song means to you because I know it's special.
Housebroken to me, it is the story behind why they don't play that song anymore is very interesting to me, because it's originally about police brutality, but people saw it so much as like an abusive relationship metaphor to the point where
Yeah,
Christian just didn't want to do the song live
interesting.
anymore because he realized it was the thing of like, we tried this and our message didn't get across, so we're not going to play the song live anymore. Obviously, they did
Yeah,
for the full album tour.
yeah,
Housebroken for me, that abusive relationship metaphor really stuck with me. I was getting out of a relationship. I don't have any distaste for this person anymore. Like,
Mhm.
it was 3 years ago. I have no ill will towards this person. I hope that they're doing great. The thing about Housebroken is I found this album that year,
Yeah,
2022, and I started listening to that record around probably like August of 2022. It was late in the year. It was my eighth most listened to song on Spotify by the end of the year. That was what
yeah,
that song was there for me in a way that not a lot of songs have. I haven't found a lot of songs at that precise moment. That was also the same year where I started listening to La Dispute around September of that year. I finally got into La Dispute, and I was in the top 2% of their listeners that year. And they were my number one band that year. So you can tell how 2022 went for me.
that's but so that answer, that to me, that is what music is all about. It's
Yeah.
not like I have no interest in rating stuff or like really evaluating music. I just don't have that relationship with it. Like to me, the reason music matters is because it's the art form that we live with, and that it means what your heart needs it to mean. And so and every Hotelier song is like a 10 out of 10 on that measure. It has transform your life power. I don't think they have a dud. And so to encounter that song in that moment, that makes complete sense. My quibbles with it are fully on the songwriting craft side of it. I think they stay in the metaphor too long. The endless dog lyrics become almost punny, the way it like just keeps it doesn't have the range that some of their other writing does to me. And it's just, I mean, what I go to the Hotelier for is this like ungodly urgency, and that song is just a little more patient in a way. And like it's yeah, can the Hotelier write like a really well-crafted alt country song? Like, yeah, I would listen to them play any genre they want to for the rest of time. So like what where I like struggle with the song is completely in another territory than what it means to you, and that all makes complete
I'm still
sense.
comfortable putting it at number 8 just for the sake of this being our list that we're
Okay.
combining. I understand where that's coming from. Number 7, this is near the front of the album. I put In Framing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the song. I think that it's great. I just it's in between it putting it in between the two songs that it's in between. I think does it a tremendous disservice.
Hmm. I think I mean, one of the things I love about this album is that the sequencing is so good. Like it really they go through so many
Actually, I'm going
different.
to change my answer actually after just listening to the opening like couple seconds of it again. I'm actually going to put Discomfort Revisited at number 7
Hmm.
instead of In Framing. I think I'm going to switch those two around.
That's yeah. To me, ranking this album was like I've got a really clear top three or four, and then sadly I have Housebroken at the bottom, and then there's the every all the other songs I really could go either way on. I think what I like about In Framing and the Scope of All This Rebuilding, the two three songs on the album, I just think of this the first four on this album feel perfectly sequenced to me, where it starts at this unbelievably anthemic like opening call out, and then you've got Your Deep Rest coming, and in between there's these two just like kind of fun little songs that like have a different rhythmic energy and just work really well. They're not very long. They kind of just like I think they get you from one to four in a nice sequence, and they're good songs, but I don't feel like a special attachment to either of them.
Actually put
I
In
just like them.
Framing and Scope of All This Rebuilding at 7 and 6 respectively, and I think that those two songs need to
Yeah.
be put together in a
Yeah.
way like they need to be like next to each other on this ranking. I think I actually am going to keep my original where it was Scope
Yeah.
of All This Rebuilding at number 6 and then In Framing at number 7 because those two songs are so linked together for me
Yeah.
that it's hard to think of them as individual songs.
That's exactly where I had them. I had them in a different order, but it's the same idea. Like they
Yeah.
are that's yeah, that feels right to me.
And then for number 5, which is originally and where I'm keeping it, that's where I had Discomfort Revisited.
Okay. Yeah, I had that one up one, but like I had Life in Drag up there. I love Life in Drag.
Life in Drag is my number 4.
Oh yeah, okay. All right. We're
Like
like we're
as
pretty
a
close.
listen, as a trans person, I
Yeah.
need to have Life in Drag high up there. That
Yes.
song, like, this is what an ally should be
Yeah.
on Life in Drag. Like that is there's no way to put it at like this is like if you are not the way that Christian is in
Yeah.
Life in Drag, you shouldn't like don't call yourself an ally to the trans community. It is not
Yeah.
like you're not doing the work that you think that you're doing.
That is, it's funny you mentioned that song, like calling it out in that way, because like I feel like against my earlier comments about like just think about it as an album, that is a song that I will just go listen to on its own because its just burning intensity and the purity of that song musically. I it reminds me of a band like back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was big into Boy Sets Fire. You ever listen to them?
I heard the name for sure. I don't think I ever listened to them.
And they're just like, a very political sort of post-hardcore punk band, notably led or fronted by um a gay man. I haven't kept track on them, so I actually don't know how he identifies these days. Or there's I probably missed 20 years of Boy Sets Fire developments, but like there's a Boy Sets Fire song called Rookie that is just about it's like reflecting on his introduction to I don't know, understanding his identity as a gay man and uh being sort of lost and mistreated in his community at that time. And it has that like burning intensity of life in drag. So I don't know, that song made me think of that one, and which is like an all-time song for me. So I love Life in Drag. I come back to that one. That's one I'll go back to and listen just by itself.
I think Life in Drag at number 4 probably
Yeah.
fits pretty well, and then Discomfort Revisited at number 5 I think fits pretty well as well. Number three,
Yeah. Discomfort is great. The the way that the like one of the things I realized while doing this list was like it's such a full band writing experience with this band. Like there's not I think this is part of what makes them almost impossible to imitate or to like rip off. Like there's other emo bands that are like very like you can see the bands that are imitating them, like Modern Baseball, Mom Jeans. Like it's not hard to do a Mom Jeans imitation project, but your hooks aren't going to be as good as theirs, so it's not going to be like there's instrumental and lyrical signposts of that genre that you can imitate easily with, I think, pretty wildly diminishing returns, and I think that's why like Weedmo was kind of a dead end. But like this band, when I think about trying to imitate this band, a song like Discomfort Revisited or any of the ones higher up on this list, like there's no instrumental points you could pull out of it. There's no like I don't think there's an interesting guitar line on this album.
no.
And I don't think there's an interesting bass fill or drum line on the drum part on this album. They're not about those little particulars. They're almost like writing with both hands tied behind their back. It's just the this intense encounter with the vocal and the full band energy. Like when the band hits all at once, and so Discomfort is where I kind of like that clicks for me. Those the full band hits toward the end of that song are just an electric moment there. And it's not about pulling out this detail or that detail or being fussy about details. It's just the collective force of the band.
I'd probably put Dendron at number 3 in that case, since that was my original number 8. I think
Yeah.
that I've moved it up significantly just because of where it places in the record. Like that,
Yeah.
again, the Wonder Years thing of bringing back. I know they're not the main band to do the first band to do that,
Mhm.
but that's who I associate like bringing back other songs into any album and to the end of an album with. I associate that with Wonder Years more times
Yeah.
than I don't.
Yeah.
Um,
Dendron is really special, and just the way, and it's such a closer.
yeah.
Like this album has a one thing that makes this album amazing is that they really know how to write an opener and a closer. And it just they bookend perfectly, like you say.
For number 2 and number 1, I would have initially put my number 2 my I would have switched them around initially if it had not been for recent events. So, I'm going to put this song at number 2. Um Waiting in Talia Hall for the set to begin and just hearing open the curtains, singing birds, tell me tear the buildings down. You felt blessed to receive their pleasant sounds of the things that they break. An introduction to the album. It may be the best album opener, period, done, end of
Yes.
story.
Yes, the way the little pause, the like the build up, that moment is it's such confident
It's a call
songwriting
to
in the sense.
action in a way. Like
Yes.
it is them telling you, no, you're going to listen to this full fucking thing.
And it's like it's another thing where it's like it is so hard to write a song like that. It's not there's that song doesn't have verses and choruses. It's if you try to like count out the measures, the way that vocal loops on itself and cycles is really kind of sneaky. And
It reminds me a lot of Holiday by Weezer, honestly, from like a
Hmm.
melody and a chord structure point of view, where it's like it kind like let's
Yeah,
go away for a while,
yeah.
goodbye, goodbye in distant land. That I always end up like accidentally remixing those two in my head when I'm listening to an introduction to the album.
Interesting. Yeah, there's something about it's just it's crafted in a way that is so simple and so, anthemic in the sense that you just have to sing along with it. But um it would be like it would it's just so hard to imagine writing that song because it's sneaky how simple and yet perfectly crafted it is.
I think we agree at what the number one is. I'm gonna let you go into it first before because I've got some I've got some shit to say about
Good.
this number one. Talk about your deep rest.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is obvious. I think they would I think the emo police would come arrest us if we didn't put this one number one. But it's just what listening to it again recently, like what's so interesting about it is how like it has this epic destructive power. And of all the songs on the album, it starts like the opening chords, the opening feel of the first few verses, it's like loose. It's like playful. It's just kind of like tossing these chords around. And to me, that's so emblematic of this band where like they can like some of these songs, the moments you remember, you are surprised to realize that they start with the beginning of the song.
Yeah.
Like they can take you places that you don't see coming because they have that ability. And like this, the way this song, it starts playful and loose and it's jangly. And then there's that first, I called in sick from your funeral. Like the first time that line introduces, it's soft and it's like, oh shit, this is gonna go somewhere. And then by the time it's done getting there, you're just like, you're just a puddle. You're a wreck, you
I
know?
remember this song came on the pre-show playlist when I went to the Wax Bodega tour last year to see
Mm,
Arm's Length and Carly Cosgrove and Ben Quad and Saturdays at Your Place, and just feeling like this is the energy you're setting for this because I hadn't seen Arm's Length before and I hadn't really
yeah.
dug into their music, but now it makes sense. But I was just remember hearing like this is the energy you're bringing forward, bruh.
That
This is
is
what we're doing.
that is that is so buck wild to play this song as like between set music. Like that wow.
I've
I
talked
don't even know what
about
that means. It's
I've
just it's cuckoo.
I've talked about this with you and I've been posting about it on Instagram and Twitter a lot recently, but I recently lost a partner to suicide and I'm fine. Like I'm doing as fine as I possibly can be. We've raised a ton of money for her ex-wife and her kid at this point. I've got a very big and very passionate community around me. Like the scene from Coachella, like because it happened the day after we got back. They have been nothing but so supportive for towards me and towards my other partner who was dating this partner.
Yeah.
It has been this is a song where it is changed forever for me now. This was the first person that I have ever known that I have lost in that way. And I don't think there's a better song to encapsulate that particular kind of grief where you know that you did everything that you could, but there's always that part of you that's like, I could have done more. I should have done more. Regardless of whether or not it's like actually like regardless of whether or not it's true or it makes sense there is that song. It is the best audio recording of Survivor's Guild in that way I think I've probably ever
Wow.
heard and probably will ever hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm grateful to you for sharing that and the way that you organized that fundraiser, you put it out so that your community could rally. You told her story in a way that honored what you saw in her, and let those of us who didn't know her see that and experience that and feel that love. So that's a job that you didn't have to do. So I want to thank you for that,
I
because
appreciate
I
that.
got to experience that through your storytelling. And yeah, this song is like, I don't know that experience, so I can't claim it, but I feel it from this song, and it is the fullest expression of what this band is capable of, to just speak to the heart of things.
It's been an interesting experience because there are things that I have learned about since that shape my perception of the person that I thought that I knew.
Yeah,
And this song, it goes into that as what, like, finding out things afterwards, like finding different, like, what's that note you're writing there, or anything around those, like, opening lyrics and everything. Like, I'm not going to reveal too many more details, but
yeah, 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 of course.
it is it's rough. It's a rough feeling, and that's what I appreciate so much about the Hotelier, and about, like, there's a song off of, going back to going back to your guys' music. There is a song on, like, Sour Patch on Atalanta.
Yeah.
Like, that song, that is another, like, housebroken song for me, where you hear that shit. It's been a rough 26 and a half years, but we
Yeah.
the fact that there are artists out there who are able to put the feelings that I have into music, and the fact that I'm able to be friends with people like you who create that kind of art, that's the whole reason for this shit existing. Art
Oh,
is, it exists to give you a place to find your, to be able to, like, know that somebody gets the feelings that you're going through. And that's why I think this album has resonated with so many people. Andy, I can't thank you enough for being on this episode and for talking about this album that is so important to the both of us.
yeah.
Boundary Waters Long Last just put out, the EP Long Last just came out last month. Andy, thank you so much for being on this episode. Where can we find you on that all too happy note to end this episode?
Oh, Veronica. Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. It's the music that connects us. And thank you again for all that you put into interpreting and lifting up bands and artists, and all that you hear in music and bring out in your in the podcast, and with your voice.
I've
It's
got
amazing.
music coming. I've got music
Hell
coming. I
yeah.
expect I expect an opening slot at some point soon.
Okay. All right. Well, we're here for it. You know that. But yeah, we're on, we're on Instagram is the one we understand the best. And then on Twitter, and we have the other ones, but I don't know what to do with them. So, find us find us out there. I'll be sharing all my dumb little thoughts, and thank you again for the chance to be part of this conversation.
Always. You can find all of Boundary Waters links in the description down below. You can also find my link tree in the description down below, which will take you to not only all of my social medias, but the newest video and audio versions of the Cuddlepunk podcast. If you like this episode, please comment down below what your favorite song, what your rankings are for Home Like No Place Is There by the Hotelier, what your favorite song is that helps you know that people that are out there who feel your pain and that you have a place there. If you really like the show, like Andy, you can subscribe to the Cuddlepunk Podcast Patreon for either $3
Yeah,
or
get
$5
on
a
there.
month. We've got cool new stuff coming up. Scarlett and I are going to be working on some cool new shit that is going to be Patreon exclusive. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for that. The logo for the Cuddlepunk podcast is done by Lauren Young. You can find her Instagram in the description. The theme song for the Cuddlepunk podcast is done by Mod Stout of SPLITJAW. Lose a Turn. You can find links to all of SPLITJAW's stuff and all of Mod stuff in the description down below. Andy, as always, thank you so much, man. Thank you for all that you do for this team. Thank you for everything.